Hello, Tech Butterfly here, and I have been asked by my friend Shane to give a brief overview of what warping music for Beat Saber maps looks like. So I have a program here called Reaper that I use for warping. There's another one called Warp Pro, which also does a fine job. For the record, I use Reaper. Major Pickle uses Warp Pro. They both work basically the same and do just as good a job. So uh, I have Reaper open. I have dragged in the song. In this case, it's recognized by Better Than Ezra. And I've just dragged it in from the file manager. And I have set the BPM down here to 94. And I got that by just Googling Better Than Ezra, recognized BPM, and came up with 94. So I've dragged the song in, and I'm going to line the first beat of the music up at the 2 second mark on the map. This little thing right here is not the first beat of the song. It's this one right here. And you don't want music or blocks flying until about 2 seconds into the map so that the player has time to get ready. So I've dragged the first beat of the song to the 2 second mark, and I'm going to click on that peak right there, and I'm going to hit Shift W, and that places this marker right here called a stretch marker. And this one is just going to lock in the first beat to the 2 second mark. So if you look at these peaks further down in the song, you can see that they're drifting off of the 94 beat per minute marks that are here. See how they're drifting a little farther off each time. So what we're going to be doing with warping is we're going to be lining the music up with those beat marks. If we give it a listen right now, you'll hear the metronome and you'll hear the music slowly drifting off of the metronome. So here's give this a listen. So you should have noticed that the music was drifting off of the away from the metronome. So what we're going to do is we're going to go here to this peak here and click on it and hit Shift W and then drag that stretch marker to line that peak up with the beat. Okay, then I go a little bit further down here, and once again I'm going to click on this peak, hit Shift W, and line that peak up with the beat. Okay, and then I'm going to go down a little further, click on that peak, hit Shift W, and line it up with the beat. Notice that as I line these up, the uh, the peaks in between these markers also line up with the beat here and here and here. And notice that I'm going like 8 beats in between where I'm placing the markers. You don't want to go to each one of these peaks and click them and put a stretch marker and drag them to the nearest measure. That's a recipe for disaster because unless you get it perfect, the you're going to have an uneven beat. Most of these songs are meant to have a steady beat. They just slowly drift a little faster, a little slower from what they're supposed to be, just because humans are playing them. Uh, but for the most part, it's supposed to be a steady beat. So if you go every 4 or 8 or 12 measures, it kind of depends on the song, uh, and then just line up that part of the music, the rest of it should fall in line. So I'm going to go down here. This one's only a little bit off, but I will move it a little bit. further and a little further. Now it's easier. This song is fairly easy because it has very distinct beats. But some music, you might have a lot of orchestration, a lot of synthesizers or horns and stuff, and it could be sometimes hard to distinguish the beat. But this song's fairly easy. Okay, so we've placed several markers and lined several beats up, and now if we go back and listen to it, you should hear that the song is lined up with the beat.
First thing I remember, I was lying in the sand when a plague of 7 horsemen came across the desert land. They had one good eye between them, they were burning up the sky. When I asked why they had come for me, the ugly one replied,
So there you go. That's warping. Just go through the entire song, lining up the peaks of the music with the beat, and when you're finished, you can export the song, and you'll have uh, a solid steady BPM that you can map against. It can be a little more difficult. Some songs actually do have changes, intentional changes in BPM, and it's possible to warp those sections with separate BPMs and things, but that's a little more complicated. But this is the basic process. I hope you learned a little bit. All right, see you later.